Hello! Hello again! I have returned. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Alistair, Nunez, Sir Patty. Hi, hi. I'll take this. Okay. Hello, hello. How's everybody's days going? What's this? Right. Oh. Beautiful. What are these? Dog. Egg. Is that a golden egg? There's more. Wings. Means to continue. Where's my chapstick? Ah. Your blood has accepted the gift. Mohaha.
Bruce to Condor 1, I've got that intel you requested on Louis Serra. It seems he used to be a researcher for Umbrella.
Umbrella? I should have left him in that bag to rot.
I'm sending you the details. Take a look, but Baby Eagle is your priority.
Copy that. Making my way to the church. Condor 1.
That church. Ah, ammo. Chapter 3. Tab view files. Here. University student registry. No prior records have been discovered, including his birth certificate. After graduating from university, he was employed by Umbrella's research division, where he became a rising star who won favor among his peers. He was involved in the development of several common over-the-counter drugs, all of which were discontinued before ever reaching the market. A few years later, Sarah resigned from Umbrella and could not be located. After the Raccoon City incident, efforts were made by law enforcement and the government to track down anybody with links to Umbrella. But despite conducting an extensive search, they were unable to find him. Considering how well he evaded them, we are almost certain Sarah went to great lengths to disappear. In Huntington's handwriting, common over-the-counter drugs. Do you seriously think that Umbrella would let one of their best work on some antacid or beauty cream? What? Tums. Head for the church. Okay. Touching it. I touched this? Yeah, I did. Oh. Huh. And that was the bathroom. What's this? Oh, a key. Oh, was there anything in here that needed a key? Mm-hmm. I vaguely remember something needing a key, but very vaguely. Eh. Maybe not. Dear. All right. Where am I going? Purge. I can't go through. Oh. Oh!
You too, huh?
Puppy! Here you go, guy.
Take care of yourself, buddy.
Yeah, bud. Ah. Wait. Where am I? What am I doing? Who am I? Got distracted because I heard a puppy. Alright. Is it this? Yeah. Open sesame. Ah, man. Oh, wow. It's very dark. Oh, wow. Ah. Uh. Oh. Did it wrap around? Wrap around. Where do I need to go? I mean, there's a guy up there. Whoa. Ah! Oh! Evil puppy!
Come on.
Oh, why do I have my grenade out? I panicked and pushed buttons, that's why. Woo! Pardon me, I'm reloading. You good? Ow. Ah! Oof. Okay. We good now? I'm not good. I have so many of these. And combine. Ugh. Mm-hmm. Hello? I don't have a lot of ammo. I make ammo. Because I keep pressing the wrong button to do that. Ba-ba-bum. Eh. Eh. Mhm. What? Okay. Oh, well. Okay. Oh, and there's beeping in there? Okay. Oh boy. Well, here goes nothing. Jesus Christ! I didn't know she had a weapon. Okay, I'm gonna eat this. Yeah. Oh, better now. Oh, my knife is broken. Okay, there's beeping. Hmm. Oh, okay, I understand. Do I understand? Hello? Ah, there's a dude over there. Right there. I guess I want to go over there. Okay. Oh man, but I have no knife. My knife is broken. And I've got no ammo. About to have a very fun time. Not having a knife isn't gonna be great, I don't think. How do I get over there? Did I go wrong? Hmm. 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 Where do I? Hmm. I feel like I definitely have to go here. Am lost. Send help. Fuck. Did I get myself stuck? Oh no, I did not. So where do I need to go? Why was there a bomb in here? Whoa. Okay. Damn. I have no knife. Come here, Wolf. Nice. Did I make handgun him? Aye, aye, aye. Why does it let me make a handgun ammo? Explain. Also, does it? Okay. Okay. Oh. I don't want to go in the hole. Okay, I'll go in the hole. It's gross down here. A rat? Yeah. Wait. Where I came from? Oh my god. Which hole is the hole I came from? I came from this hole? Okay, and then I turn around. And then... And the hole I came from. Different hole. Same hole? Fuck, I don't know. Let's find out. Okay, this is the hole I came from. And this hole is a different hole. Right? Right? No? Maybe? Fuck. I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. What the fuck is the purpose of this hole? Is the hole just like another route I could have taken to get to that other place? I'm gonna assume it's just so I could get here. What a lovely place. Ah! What the fuck? A snake? Fuck you. Okay. There was a snake in that box. Okay. I don't know why people are just keeping snakes in boxes. Seems kind of weird to me. What a guy. That's a very big skull. Sleep well and flourish, dear child. As your body grows, your mothers shall sew new small clothes. At 7 quintal of wheat and half a bull a day, you have outgrown your pen. Flourish, dear child, for the sake of your brothers and sisters who cannot. One big bitch. All right. Okay. A draw. All right.
I've got some new items in
Oh,
stock.
God bless.
Come take a look.
Hello, good sir. Can you fix my knife for me, please?
I've got something new for you. Good luck to you, stranger.
What do you have for me? Oh.
That cash in your pocket or your life? Easy choice, mate.
Easy choice. I don't know, man. How am I supposed to know what I want to buy?
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger. You'll get some bang for your buck, I guarantee it.
Bang for my buck, eh? There you go, you can have that.
Thank you. I'll buy almost anything. Wield it. Don't get yourself killed.
Oh, I still had a kitchen knife? How come these are stacked, but these ones aren't? Aren't they the same thing? Why do I have rifle ammo? I don't have a rifle.
Now,
Um, this. Oh. I don't know. I don't know. What's this? Merchant, sick of constantly running out of ammo? Well, I've got a treat for you. The bolt thrower is something else. Its bolts can be retrieved and reused, so you keep shooting forever. Also, don't forget to buy the bolt recipe to turn your extra knives into, well, bolts. Never worry about ammo again. That's not all. You can fix the bolts with attachable mines. Quickly turn the weapon into a powerful mine thrower. Oh. Very interesting.
ooh, you have the stench of battle.
Yeah, I'll bet I do. I have so much money.
Welcome. Ooh, what you buying?
What is this? How do I know what I want to buy?
All my wares are in tip-top shape.
Oh,
I assure you.
let me stretch. Long-range sniping. And then this is the scope.
Time is money, mate.
Time is money. Ah, that's fine.
What's that? How have we procured these curiosities? You don't want to know, mate.
I don't want to know. What if I do want to know?
What you see is what I've got.
I don't
Got a
know what
selection
to
of good
buy.
things
It's
on
scary.
sale, stranger. Knife needs care every once in a while. Could be the difference between life and death.
A treasure map.
That cash in your pocket or your life. Easy choice, mate.
Okay.
You've got a soft spot for treasure, eh? Yeah, that's
Do I need new guns?
Why not try your hand at a new gun, stranger? Might save your life.
I don't know. Oh, I can upgrade my
A
gun
well-tuned weapon
too.
can make up for a lack of skill.
Mm. Reload speed, rate of fire, increased power. Oh, but do I do that or do I buy a new gun? Ay, ay, ay. Compatible with the laser sight. I don't need a laser sight. I don't know. If it's a bad choice, so be it.
As you wished. Try that on for size. Your weapons are in good hands, mate. I'll see you right.
A bigger case is always nice. Yeah, yeah.
All my
Okay.
wares are in a bit more space. Never hurt anyone.
You're completely
Perfect
right, good
size
sir.
for you, Stu.
Okay.
Come back anytime.
You know what? We'll just leave it at that. Oh. What's this? Oh, I have no charms. Oh, fancy. Organize. Oh, it's because these are different kinds. That's... Oh. Whoops. Whoops. I keep right-clicking on it. Oh, and then this one... Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. And then this does... Oh. I see, I see. I don't know what to do with the snake. Little snacky snack. Okay. Onward. Ah, ah. Oh, I hear whispering.
A church. I made it.
I made it. Alright, I hear more whispering. Okay, so now there might be snakes in these bitches. No snake. Bye. Oh, what a lovely coffin. Seems a little small for Leon, though. Yeah. Well, the bird. Hello, can I come in? Thingy. Let me in! Let me in!
Damn it.
Damn it!
Condor 1 to roost. The church is sealed up.
And Baby Eagle?
Negative. Nothing yet.
Oh, a thing.
But they sure do have this place locked up tight.
I see. I can think of one reason they'd
Sorry for
want to do
interrupting
so.
you.
Oh, she's here. That's for sure. I'll find a way in. Condor 1, out.
I'll find a way in. Ain't no snake's gonna trick me. Oh wow, a side door. Can I come in? Photo of Ashley. Keep her locked up in the church until the appointed time. Oh. 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 He outside has some for the ire for the girl. Lock her in the church and await orders from something Lord. Until then, keep the church door shut. The key will be held in the cave on the other side of the lake. The monster will deal with the foolish intruder. Oh.
Lake. Let's hope for no more surprises.
Oh well. I mean, I guess we can hope, but I don't think I will. Also, what's up here? What's over here? Dog. Wow. Grave robber. Destroy the tombstone. Emblems. Alright. What's up here? Flash grenade? Missile? Yeah. Okay. Tombstone emblem. Well, I can do that. No, I can't. That's not where I came from. Well, I came from here. Tombstone emblems. That? Yeah. This? Yeah. Maybe? Yeah. We'll just destroy all of them. Well, bam. Well, bam. Oh, probably meant these ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully it's not a bad thing that I desecrated all of those. Alright. Now let's go into the scary hole in the floor. Where only good things can happen. Oh, it's so dark. Oh, yeah. This is nice. I'm very excited to fight a monster. And by that I mean not excited at all. Oh, this is the other. Okay. Alright. Lake Lago. Hello?
Puedes correr, pero no te puedes esconder. ¡Un forastero!
Laser focused in right now. Oh, I gotta reload. Oh, he's turning into a monster. Not anymore. Aha!
¡Detrás de ti, imbécil!
Hey, don't push me. Hey! That was rude as hell. It's rude to push people. People have no manners. Think there's a snake in here? No snake.
¡Ahí vas!
Oh! Dude!
Out of the way.
Yeah, out of the way. Setting yourself on fire? Was that the plan, or... Oh! Goodness gracious. Those people over there are just setting themselves on fire. Is that the plan? Not a good plan. Oh gosh, I didn't do the headbutt. Boop, boop, boop. Hi, Pat. I can't tell you how many times those snakes made me paranoid in the original game. I double tapped every box I came across. Fucking snakes. Eh. No snake. Alright, are these people done setting themselves on fire over here? No snake. Alright. Hello? Oh, where'd you come from? Oh, ouchies. That hurted. Oh! Okay. Ah! Oh, I didn't see you there.
Next.
Oh no. I'm a little bit hurted. I eat these snakes or will it kill me? It says if the poison glands are removed, it can be eaten. Does he just do that? I guess so. Yummy, a snake. Yummy, yummy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're like... Onward. Not a snake. For one of your side missions, you'll have to sell 3 vipers to the just letting. Ah, man. I ate it. Oh well. Okay. Okay, okay, okay. Hello? I hear puppies. Blue medallions. This area is polluted by their presence. I cannot stand. That's it. Jesus Christ. One fucking resilient puppy. Okay, so don't eat the snakes. What happens if I eat just this? Did I not? I want to combine them. I want another thing to combine it. I want to combine. Oh, yeah, yes. Oh wow, any more poppies? I don't think I like it here. I feel like something bad is about to happen. You know? I feel like these things are gonna shut and I'm gonna be in danger. You know? Yeah, and I'm gonna be in danger. What? No, I'm in danger. Alright, where's the giant fucking whatever that's about to kill me? Alright, I'm gonna try and walk out of the door. Surely nothing bad will happen. Okay. Okay. Oh, I don't have that. Think nothing bad happened? Hello? 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 Sub-object. Oh. Mm-hmm. Oh, I walked by some ammo? Mm. Hello? Okay. Seems like a lovely place. Oh. Hello, good sir.
Took care of her request, did ya?
I don't know, I guess.
I can tell by the... Well, look at you, mate.
Oh, yeah, the graves.
Well then, what can I do you for?
I don't know, man.
Molding a weapon to suit your specific...
I want that.
A wise choice. I'm come back.
Yeah, thanks, man. How come... Oh, they're not stacked. It's the this. I see now. Oh, I understand. Oh.
There are enough weapons here to get a party going.
Where did he say? No. Okay. Well, let's see. It's down here. There's mysterious elevator.
Welcome, stranger. I believe this is your first time having a go at targeting. In practice, there's only one rule. Shoot the targets as they pop up. Simple enough, am I right?
Oh. What is this? Huh.
If you do well, I'll make it worth your while. Knickknacks and whatnot. Anyway, have fun, mate. Rely too much on a single weapon and you'll find yourself out of ammo, mate.
Oh? Like...
3, 2, 1, begin! Oh, friendly fire, stranger!
Oh.
I'll have to penalize you for that, I'm afraid.
Oh my god.
You're an artist! Reload!
Ah! Ah! Oh my goodness.
That's the stuff and that's the game!
Did I win?
You have a knack for this, friend.
Oh. Again.
3, 2,
Whoa.
1, begin! Double kill! Ah, beautiful! Reload! That'll do it!
I did miss some of them.
We
Again!
were right about you, stranger.
What's this? I'm gonna do it again.
3, 2,
Again!
1, begin! You're an artist, mate.
Ah.
Superb shot. Reload.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Ah. Oh! No! I did a bad job. I want to do it again. I'm having fun. I want to do it again.
3, 2, 1, begin.
Oh, I missed the thing.
That's the stuff. You're an artist. Reload.
Reload.
That's it. Brilliant. That's the stuff. You've been waiting for it. A flood of targets. You're an artist, mate. Come on.
What's that?
That'll do it.
Oh. S. Ah.
We got a
Okay, and then what do I do over here?
You're leaving already?
What's this do? If you complete certain conditions, you get the bonus. Yeah, I got the bonus round. Oh, very nice. Oh. Okay. Oh, I don't have any. I need more. Give me more. try this again.
3, 2, 1, begin. Double kill.
Oh. Oh gosh. Oh, I missed his dummy.
Reload.
There's nothing to reload. Ah. Oh. This is so blurry.
Curve shot. That's your lot.
I suck at that one.
Nice.
What's this one?
3, 2, 1, begin.
Ah. Oh my god. So speedy.
That's the stuff.
Oops.
Reload.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Oh no.
Brilliant.
Ah!
And that's the game.
The trick is waiting for some of them to line up so the rifle penetrates. Oh. Well, that's how that works. Wait, did I get another thingy?
I await your return.
Alright. Whee! Again!
Targets don't just stick. 3,
Okay, so that it penetrates.
1, begin. Double kill.
Like this. Ah.
You're an artist, mate.
Oh, it's so blurry.
Beautiful. You're an artist, mate. Reload.
Oh, I missed one.
That'll do it.
I did better.
You have a knack for this, friend.
100%. Let's try this one again.
2, 1, begin. Beautiful.
Ah.
You're an artist. Reload. That's the stuff. Superb shot.
Oh no. No!
That's your lot.
Okay. Again!
Rely 2,
This is so much fun.
2, 1, begin.
Oh, I fucked it up already. Ah, jeez.
You're an artist. Reload.
I reloaded.
Beautiful.
Ah. Ugh. Again. I want to get all the thingies.
2, 1, begin! You're an artist, mate.
Oh.
Brilliant. Reload!
Oh, I pressed the forward button.
That's the stuff. You're an artist, mate. That's it.
Oh, that guy had a dynamite thing. I was supposed to shoot that. No! I gotta get that last one. I'm gonna do it.
3, 2, 1, begin! Superb shot! That's the stuff! Oh, beautiful! Reload!
Reloading.
That's it! Superb shot! That's the stuff! You've been waiting for it! A flood of targets!
Oh! Fuck! One more time. Maybe not one more time.
1, begin!
No, I messed it up. Can I start over? Oh man, I'm all the way off my groove now.
You're an artist! Reload! That's it! Brilliant! Let the bonus time begin! You're an artist, mate!
Ah! Okay. I'll stop for now. I'll stop mucking around.
You're leaving already?
Okay. Why was I press this button? Is it another thing? Oh, this is... What's this button do, though?
Man needs a break every once in a while, am I
It
right?
just brings me back?
Right up.
Buttons, both of the buttons do the same thing? Okay. What of the light?
got the stint. Welcome.
You have a stench.
What you buying?
For selling only.
I'll buy almost anything. Thank you.
For selling only.
A deal well struck.
What's this?
Will that be all? Come back anytime.
Doll guy. Alright, hello? Well, what's down there? What's down in here? Really something lovely, right? Oh. Okay. The water makes me nervous. Like, what's in there? Wait a minute. That noise. What's in the water? Okay. Oh, castle. Allow. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful time. Oh, something's gonna eat that body up. Oh. Ah, it's a fishy. Just a little fishy. Nothing to worry about. Probably fine. Just a little guy. Doubt that's gonna be anything I have to worry about. There's a boat. Man. Why is there a boat? Boat fuel is stored with the generator fuel inside the processing building at the fish farm. Take only what you need. Okay. Alright, let's go get this fucking shit. Ooh. Jesus Christ. No, it's a little puzzle. Oh, a mixed, matched. Oh, a house. Anybody home? Ooh, a plant. Oh, kitchen knife. Lots of ammo. Very scary. Okay. Yeah, fishy, fishy. No fishy, fishy. Hello? What? Not the autosave. Hey, Judas. Judas. Ah!
Shit. God damn it.
I don't want to be in the water. I just saw scary. Judas. Judy Booty.
Un forastero.
Oh, what the fuck? I missed. Oh gosh. Oh god. Oh jeez. Excuse me, pardon me. Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me. I'm literally just a little guy. Please leave me alone. Please leave me alone.
Out of the way.
Ooh, ouch. Jesus Christ. Oh, wrong button. Eek! I don't want to be here. I don't want to be part of whatever's going on right now. Ouchies. That did nothing.
Next.
Okay. Okay, everything's okay now. Everything's fine now. there, Randall. Ah. You want to try that again? One more time? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, he's transforming. Hammer cow, very fun. Very fun. Well, that was fun. And by fun, I mean very stressful. I'm a little beat up. It's one of those things I have to destroy. What's this? I really ought to use my hand grenades, I feel. I feel like maybe if I like use these, life could potentially be easier, but I also don't trust myself to use them. Because I feel like if I were to use a hand grenade, I would most definitely blow myself up. You know what I mean? Handgun only run? Not on purpose. We'll say that though. We can say that. Yeah. It's I'm doing this on purpose. I'm trying to make the game more challenging, you know? Yeah. Eh. You're beeping. There's people there. Oh jeez, where's the beeping coming from? Oh, ouchies. Shit. Oh, oops. Wait, I'm gonna die. Fuck. What's the worst that could happen? It's just an explosive device? Yeah. Maybe, you know, maybe I just let myself die. Maybe I just try this little zone all over again. It's strategic, right? Who is doing that? Ah! Okay, I was kind of joking, but here we are. There are more snakes and fish in the water. You can eat those. Oh. All right, let's continue my definitely intentional handgun only. Oh, ah, fuck. I forgot that happens.
God damn it.
Alright. Alright, Mr. Piggy. Oh! Where did you come from? Oh, own stuff. Alright. Ooh, ouchies. Ouchies, 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 ouchies. Excuse me, excuse me, please. Pardon. You know what? Right? Wait, how do I use it? Oh. Ooh. Ow. Okay, so I feel like that had varying levels of success. Fuck. I keep trying to right click on this stuff to use it.
Here you go. Sorry.
Oh, there's a snake. What the hell? Oh. Okay. So I had an easier time, that's for sure. Should shoot the fish in the lake? I no see no fish. There was a snake in there somehow. An excellent source of protein. You're right, you're right. Okay. So I'd say it's going better this time around. I missed. Oh, I missed again. Okay. One dead dude. What's over here? Okay, that's where I came from. Okay, okay, okay. Anything fun over here? What's this? Dab. Hello?
Puedes correr, pero no te puedes esconder.
Eh?
¡Detrás de ti, imbécil!
Ah! Every step. Hello? Okay, this is where I just was. We get up here. ¿Dónde estás aquí? wait. Ah. Hold on, can I reload, please? Oh, there's a fish. A fish! Ah! Excuse me.
Damn it.
My knife broke. Hello. Broken knife. Okay. Let's eat the fishy. I keep right-clicking on... Oh, jeez. I keep right-clicking on the fish. I keep right-clicking on stuff to try and use it. I heard a snake. I no see. Okay, where's the... Hello? Oh, there we go. Okay. My knife is broken, but surely everything will be just fine. Ooh, give me that. Yeah. Okay. I need to get up there. Oh, a snake. I have to get those. Treasure. Eh? Treasure where? Oh, it's a snake. Ah. Ah. Over here. I keep accidentally crouching. Oh. Okay. I need to get up there and then drop down to get that barrel. Maybe? I'll be tumbling. Another snake. Wait. Where'd that come from? Oh, treasure. Oh, another piece. All right. Onward. I have lots of yummy snakes to eat. My inventory is a little messy. Oh. Lots of snakes. I don't know, man. I don't know what to do with all these snakes. Oh, key. Okay. Hard. Oh. I just...
Ahí está.
I just stab her. Okay. Alright, well. Do I have room for another fucking snake? Oh my god. I thought I was gonna have to be concerned about how many snakes I had. Ah. How many bullets? Ah, he's turning into a weird thing. Are they gonna find their way up here? Okay, yeah, they're slowly on their way. La-di-da!
They keep coming. One down. Shit.
Oh. Okay, hold on. Whoops. La-di-da! Loop. Another one. Fucking hell. I don't know if I'll ever stop right-clicking on that. There we go. Now we can make things a little nicer. I don't know where to put that. Oh, I forgot to reload. Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to think... I don't know if I'm supposed to go in the house yet. Da-da-da! What I do know is that there's a little beepy thing over here. Beep, beep, beep. Yeah. For why? I don't know. Oh, for this? Ah, the money. All right. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Now to go in the scary house. Oh. Chicken egg. Boat fuel.
This is what I'm talking about.
Ugh. Okay. And now we have to go all the way back. Is there anything else in here for me? No? No for me? No for me. Okay, let's get out of here. Wait. Whoops. I kind of forgot that, it, like, collapsed. Okay. Fuck that boat. Can you fix my knife? Hi, hello. Can you fix my knife?
Welcome. Ooh, what you buying? Good luck to you,
I'm repairing my knife. I don't know if I already have the thing where I have to sell 3 of the
Your
snakes.
valuables won't do you much good in the grave. This is what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Fine.
Yeah, okay, I
Job
did.
well done deserves payment in kind.
Yay!
What can I do you for? Oh, my back is killing me. Years haven't been kind to us, I suppose.
No, they haven't. No. I don't know, man. Make requests. Yeah. Ba-ba-bum. You know, I do
Life
break
needs care every once
my
in a
knife a
while.
lot.
Could be the difference between life and death. There you are, as you wished.
For selling only. For selling only.
I'll buy almost
For selling only.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome, sir.
This kind of work is about finesse, stranger. Little bit goes a long way.
Little bit
You see.
goes a long way.
Got a select comeback.
Anyway,
anytime.
thank you. Have a nice day. If I'm making stupid purchasing decisions, so well. It's my first time playing a game like this. I don't know what I'm doing, and that's okay. Or so I decide. Ooh. Still missing one of those. No clue where, though. Oh, I got another thing. Need another one. Okay. Look at the fishies. Okay. Knife is usually a great choice since it'll always be with you. Okay. Should I have saved first? It'll autosave. You better hurry up. The fishy's gonna get you. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. If you see a giant fishy, don't forget to scream. Ah! That wasn't a fish, it had legs. The giant salamander? Where are we going? Oh. Wait, what's my, Where'd I get harpoons? Uh-oh. Ah! Come out wherever you are.
Think you can swallow me whole, huh?
Yeah, I think it does think that.
Where'd you go?
It's serious business, man. Ah! You're so...
Son of a bitch.
I second that. Jesus Christ! Jesus! Jesus! Ah, jeez, I'm missing. Oh, whoops. Harpoon Hunter! Putting those strong, powerful arms to use. Why'd you say uh-oh? I did fine. Uh-oh. Hey, that's not good, buddy. Oh. Good night! Good night, sweet prince. Chapter end. Woo! Now I got little things. Ah. I got little guys. You did great. Matter of fact, you missed a couple of you only missed a couple of times. Trying to go back for the achievement where you beat Del Lago without missing. Oh. Oh. I could probably do that. Chapter end. Next. Let me drink some water.
Sacrificial lamb, you will receive our most sacred body. It begins now.
His staff is wiggly.
Daybreaks.
Ally's a pro. I am a pro. I'm the best gamer ever.
My holy blessing forever.
You're okay, bud. It's okay. You're fine. You're fine. Oh, you're always proud of me. Thanks. That makes one person.
Condor 1 to Roost. Do you read me?
Condor 1? You've been radio silent for 3 hours. Are you all right?
I took a little nappy nap.
Fine. Won't let it happen again.
And the church?
I'm still looking for whatever key I need.
Copy that. Roost out.
My boat is leaking. My boat! No! How could this happen? Copy. Find key to church. Oh, what a lovely place. Oh, a hat. Where's his head? When they put him in the river, he had no head. In the lake, I mean, in the lake. Not the river. Was a lake. Is his head in here? Can't really see. Oh, also, I was listening back to my VOD. My keyboard's so noisy. I think I'm lagging a few minutes behind. The messages are coming in late. Oh no. My bitrate and everything looks fine, so maybe I don't know. Judas, what do you think? What's how long is it taking for your messages to pop up on the screen here? Are we praying? I'm not really into that religious stuff, alright? I'm sorry. I don't like this chanting. Making me nervous. I'll take that. I don't even need it right now. My snickies. And an egg. I don't know what to do with this. Stay right there, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. What do you call this version shooter? Third person? Oh, what the fuck?
What the fuck? ¡Agarradlo!
Oh shit. Oh, I fucked that up. Okay. I did not need to reload. How am I doing? I'm a little injured. Let's eat an egg. Eggs are good. Okay, hold on. Let me grab a snack. Let's take a little BRB. Let's do a little BRB. Everybody get a snack, stretch, relax a little. Ugh. And I'm back. I got some Pringles. The little snack pack of Pringles. I better share? Okay. Open up. There you go. Yeah, I'll do a totally aesthetic Pringle crunch. Your hand too big to fit inside the Pringle, and your hand too... But your hand... Oh my god, why? I'm having a stroke trying to read that for some reason. Your hand too big to fit inside of a Pringle can. And your hand too big to fit inside of a Pringle can. Ow. I forgot how fucking loud chips are. My bad. All right. All right. Let's go. All right. Very cool. Boat? Lots of fire. How'd they put that there? How did they put that fire there? But... Whoa! Any spoopy guys in here? Oh, whoa!
What is this place?
Mr. Obama? Mr. Obama, please.
Some kind of shrine.
I don't like it.
Same mark from the church.
Oh. Gotta put things in the hands, I see.
It's the lake.
Oh, the lake. You see? Investigate the 2 locations. Okay. Let me enjoy a Pringle. Someone fetch me a rare gold chicken egg. Oh. Oh man, another boat. Ugh. I don't want to get in the boat. Hmm. Hmm. Oh. Hmm. Hmm. It all goes to the same place. This is probably locked though, right? Okay.
Won't open.
Alright, yeah, so I've gotta go around. Around we go. No, no.
Puedes correr, pero no te puedes esconder. ¿Dónde estás?
Uh-oh.
You're serious.
What? Goodness gracious, die already.
Come on. Twisty son of a bitch.
Okay. I don't know what you're shouting about. Oh jeez.
Shit.
Oh. Pardon me, I gotta reload. Alright. Hello? Oh. Alright. Well, thank you for setting yourself on fire. That was very kind of you. Hello? Someone throwing dynamite over there? Don't blow yourself up. Money, 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 money. Did I miss anything? No. Okay, so maybe I go up the ladder. Oh my god, hello.
Come on.
Oh, no bullet. Come on.
One down. He's coming.
Awesome. Okay. Up the ladder. Hello?
Shit.
Shit. Okay, well, now I've got to use my gun. Oh. Okay. Bada bing ba boom. Nice. Oh. Eh? Oh. Oh. Whoops. Eh? Yeah, there's probably a clue for this somewhere. Okay, this thing over here. Where is it? What is that? Silver token. Okay. I kind of just wanted to do that for funsies. Oh, a plant. Whoops. Yeah. the door again. Okay, let's go back up. I don't remember seeing anything to solve this puzzle. Never mind, I take that back. And then the... Is that all of it? I don't see any other markings on the walls. Okay. Up we go. And I'm confused. Wow! Ugh. Hello, placebo bunny. I'm trying to solve a puzzle. Ugh. But I don't know how. Where is that friggin' shut up. It was noisy. It's just these two don't look like anything on here. Unless... Shit, that means I'm missing one, doesn't it? Okay, it's definitely these two. Or is it this one? No, it's definitely... What about this? Oh, I did it! I still don't know where like that other clue was at. I didn't see it, but that's fine. Hi! Good sir. Ahead. Grass. Okay. Let's dip. Hello?
You're serious?
Ooh, ouchies. It's on fire. What am I supposed to do? Okay. I would say I can't just walk up and melee a man that's on fire. I'm gonna get on fire. Oh, there's the other one. Right here. Walked right by it, didn't even know. Where the fuck is the way out of here? Okay, yeah, I can come. Oh, I can go this way. Bye. I've seen you solve puzzles before. You can do it. Yeah, I'm a puzzle solving pro. That's where I started. Yeah. Ah, pretty. Sparkly. Ugh. Oh, wait. This is another treasure. More treasure. Where? Aha. Where can I get into the position to shoot that? Yay! Ooh. When in doubt, just brute force the puzzle, right? So many things. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's go here. Ah. Okay. There's treasure here. A stone pedestal. Oh, right. Did I find the... No. Okay, let's continue our boat journey. Boat. Oh my god, I still have apple juice. Delish. I want to kind of go on the boat. How does one get on the boat? No? No boat? But I want to be on the boat. Aha! The boat. Anything else on boat? Ah. Oh, a gun. Powerful handgun. A large 9 is burned into the grip to prevent the user from loading the incorrect ammo? I don't know. Into the boat. All right. Let's go back in the cave. Here? Yes. I guess I can try it. How do I... Whip. But how do I... Ah! Okay, we'll give her a go. Wait a minute. Okay. Wait. Oh, right, I have to... I have to put the thing here. There you go, that's for you. Okay, now I need to go get another one. Run! Run, 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 run! Okay. And so I'll go... I suppose over there? Over here? I don't know. Chicken! Hey chickens. Have any of you happened to lay a golden egg, mayhaps? Aha!
I'll be taking this.
I will be taking this. These chickens are freaking out. Okay. It says there's something else. Aha! And then that's it. Yes? Yes. All right. Onward. Hmm. 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 Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out if I want to go there or here. I'll go through the tunnel, though. Hey, big spooky tunnel. Okay, so we've got a weird little, like, bee thing. And then we've got a weird, fish-ish looking thing. Okay. Uh-huh. Hmm. Hmm. Man. Fish. None of these really look right. Beats me, man. What the fuck? Let me in. They're broken. Fish. I'm out of perspective, you say, eh? I don't know if boat was an answer, but my answer was boat. Eh. me break that. Oh, hey, some little waves. Oh, I can go upstairs. There we go. Look, alright, I didn't know I could go upstairs. Alright, so we had some little, wait, let me look at those waves again. Which direction were they oriented? Alright. We have some little squiggles. Very nice. And then we've got, this weird little thing, and then, like, the weird little bee. And then the 3. Okay. Oh wait, let me... Any goodies in here for me? Yes. Any goodies for me? No goodies? Okay. Alright. I'm ready to rumble. 3 little waves. Weird little thing in the bee. This thing. Yay! Treasure. Wow. Wait, was it? Oh, Jesus Christ. Away with me! Come aboard and bring along all your hopes and dreams. Together we will find everything that we're looking for. One Piece. I saw more barrels. Compass left behind. It'll only slow us down. Oh, I missed one. Fuck. My drifting was not up to par. Your heart will be your guide. Raise the sails and take the helm. That legendary place at the end of the map reveals is only legendary till someone proves it real. I want to go there. Okay, let's take a gander. Yeah. Probably code. I missed. Whoop him.
Sorry, must have slipped.
Yeah, I must have slipped. I like my other gun. Yeah. I hear something. Aha. Nice. Why is it so fucking dark in here, eh? I'm gonna turn a light on. Well, have I been in here? Hello? I have been in here. I missed some. Oh yeah. What's in here? Nothing's in here, but something's way over there. I have to pee. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. Potty break. I always forget to mute my mic. Wow. Alright. Let's get back to business and find some treasure. Aha! "3 years ago, my beloved daughter passed away shortly after giving birth to a son. Since then, the boy has grown considerably. He is a very curious child and has a true thirst for knowledge. He even tries to follow after me when I go out hunting. I can't take my eyes off him for a second. Whenever we walk in the forest, he always asks me to tell stories. He's very fond of..." How dare. Although he's still small, the boy's smart and observant beyond his years. If he weren't stuck here, he might have become a scholar. I was a careless fool. I could have sworn I shot clean through the wolf's head, and yet it lunged at me. I was able to make it back to the cabin, but my wound is swollen and discolored. Cannot bear seeing the boy's worried eyes. My body moves on its own, and I hear voices in my head. Am I going mad? I can't die now and leave the boy behind. Dear God, please protect him. That sucks. I feel like I'm gonna have to fight a fucking giant or something. I don't want to fight a giant. Wow, a gold bar. Excellent. Alright, what's this? Away shrine. Okay. Gimme, gimme. Very nice. Okay. And then there's something up there. Not up here. Oh, through here? Can I go in here? So I can. Okay. Thingy. Over there's what I was looking for. Can I stab that by chance? Nice. Another one of these. Catch big fish. Huh. I'll think about it. And I can't go in. Oh, I can go in. Hi! I feel as though now is not the time to be here. I'll be back later! Where the fuck did I come from? Wait, I missed something in there? Must have been upstairs. Ah. There. Okay. All right, now we can continue. Now we're going this way into the little hole, right? Yeah. This is where the big fish is supposed to be. There he is. Ah. I see. Ugh. I've got no room for such a big fish. Nope, he's too big. Whoops. Okay, unless I do this. Cute. Put that right there. And I can put fishy right here. Alright.
Yeah, got it.
Where is he? In there? What question mark? Right? Whoops. My bad. Hello, please take these things out of my inventory.
Got some new... Welcome. I've got something new for you, mate.
Oh, me too, man.
Ruby's all rubbish. It makes no difference. This is what I'm talking about. Fine work. We're starting to get an idea of your tastes, friend.
Oh. Ba-ba-ba-bum-bum.
If you want a fighting chance out there, you best tune up your kit.
Oh.
Still have some new items you might be interested in.
Oh. So you do.
There's some things money can't buy.
That's it. Ah.
Came into some other bits and bobs too, mate. Will that be all then?
Rocket launcher. Oh my goodness.
You'll get some bang for your buck, I guarantee it.
Okay, thank
Come
you.
back anytime.
Have a nice day. Mm-hmm. Ba ba bow. Bow ba bow. Bow 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 bow. There you go. One ahead, coming up. Okay. Now I need to go back to the church.
Condor 1 to Roost. I found the key to the church.
Copy that. Now go get Baby Eagle.
Right.
Baby
No time
Eagle.
to chat. I'm going in. Condor 1 out.
I'm going in. Wait, where the fuck is the church? Church. I haven't found. Should I have gone in there? I haven't found the last thingamabobber. It's okay. I'll figure it out eventually. You can adjust the elevation of a map? Oh. Oh. So I can. Oh. Oh. Very interesting. Very interesting. Am I, like, taking the wrong way? What's this, though? There's treasure over there. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, a box. pretty. Wait. Hmm. Is that thing gonna attack me? I'm a little frightened. Let me just... Anyway.
Break's over, I suppose.
Nah. See now, the way you're acting isn't helping. I'm frightened. What? Something's gonna come get me. And I'm scared. Man, can I avoid it? What if I go over here? Where there's no ladders or anything. Okay. Yep, alright, there it is.
Shit.
Shit indeed, my guy. Shit indeed. Can I eat a Pringle first? Mmm, Pringle.
Jesus Christ.
Hey there, mister.
Whoa. God damn, you're a big boy. Shit.
Oh, ouchies. Bloop, bloop.
Shit, that was close.
Yeah, man, totally. I forgot I had to reload. Run, bitch, run, 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 run. What is that?
Worms too?
Ah! Alright, let's shoot the warp. Fuck, 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 fuck. Ah, the puppy! Ah, puppy!
It's that dog.
Why is he picking up the house? Oh! I hit my Windows key on accident.
Want to help? Because I could use it.
Don't hurt the puppy! Oh, puppy, no! This is just like Okami.
boy.
Oh god. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Wrong button. Okay. Oh, ouchies, ouchies. Ow. Jesus Christ, I'm taking a beating. Okay, stuff. Hold on. Can we all just hold our horses? Click. Okay. Okay. I'll give myself that head pat now.
That was almost a pancake.
Ah.
Okay. Let's get to that church.
That was very stressful. But I think I did a good job. Yeah, I'll stretch too. Is the puppy okay? Good job, puppy. He's okay, right? Puppy? Where's the puppy? Where is he? Oh. You okay, mate?
Thanks, bud.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Anyway. "6 months. Its teeth have only just come through, but it shoves everything within reach into its mouth. It can't walk yet, but it swallowed a whole dog. A dog whole. My bad. 9 months. It already towers over me, but it keeps growing. The town hall can no longer contain it." Whew. Well, thank you for the lurk, Nunez. Ooh, I have to hydrate as well. I will do that. "10 months. It keeps growing even after moving to the quarry. It can devour a whole cow in only 3 days. 13 months. It can swing our largest pickaxes as if it were a twig. One of the men in the village was almost eaten today, too. It's not getting enough food. 17 months. There are only a few cows left. At this rate, the whole village will starve. We summoned help from the castle and had them put the beast to sleep with an incantation. Hopefully, it won't wake for a long time. Well, now it's dead. Just a reminder, there's a treasure thing hanging from the ropes in the center. You saw it earlier, but the medallion thing. I thought there was a treasure thing in here. Hey, a bell. Alright. There we go.
That's all of them.
Good stuff, stranger. Welcome. Ooh, what you buying? What's that? How have we procured these curiosities? You don't.
I accidentally clicked off.
Might want to take care of any leftover errands before go.
Anyway. Oops. Oh wait, I've got another one. Wow. Frickin' frick. Wait, that's... Oh my goodness. Ah! Oh. Well, I didn't know I could do that. Whoops.
Bring this way. Be ashamed to leave the
What are these? Sure. What's this? What's this? Oh. Ugh. How's my phone? Okay. Ba ba ba. Bonus guns for having deluxe edition.
rest of your life wondering,
Look at all this open space.
what if? Am I right?
No, I don't think so. Goodbye, Poppy. Thank you. Huh? Oh. Hi. Hi, Poppy.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ashley Graham,
I'm here to help.
What a bold statement. Okay. Oh. 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 Very interesting. Oh. Oh. Machine gun ammo. Ah. Let's go solve a puzzle. But let's go over here first. Oh, this is what I have to solve the puzzle. Oh, I see, I see. All right. Okay, I see. So, oh my gosh, the way it blinks. Okay, hold on. So, right here. So, there we go. There we go. Oh, then. Does that mean... Okay. What time is it? Okay.
Ashley, you in there?
Oh, whoa. Ashwee. Oh, whoa. Oh. Sigma Gamma what the fuck? Okay. Okay. Ashley must be nearby. Hello?
Ashley. Ashley Graham, are you in here?
Jesus Christ, Ashley.
Listen. Easy with that. My name's Leon.
Ashley, we're here to help.
I'm hearing the president's orders and...
He's got such a way with words.
Hey, it's dangerous outside. You need to listen to me.
What is that? Over there?
Friends!
Pursue them. The lost lambs are escaping.
Perseguirles.
Deliver unto them salvation.
I think I'm just fine. I'm okay without any salvation. I think I'll be okay. Chapter end. Alright, I think that's where we're gonna call it, boys. Ugh. Typewriter. I'm trying to click on it. Okay. Alright. Let me go ahead and exit game real quick. Alright. Let's find someone who's online. Yep, have a good night, y'all. I found someone else playing. So we'll rate them. I'm in their pre-roll ads. I just want to get through their pre-roll ads before rating. Oh boy. Be safe. You're a good girl and I'm proud of you. Stop it! Oh my god. Ah! How am I meant to survive? Ay ay ay. Alright. Oh my gosh, these ads. The boss. It looks like they're on a break. When are they gonna come back? When back? Okay, maybe I'll find someone else who's playing it. Let's see if any VTubers are playing. Oh, here we go. Here's one. Okay, well, we'll raid this person. Fine, you're a bad girl and you're grounded now. Alright, guys. We're gonna raid this little VTuber here. Show some love. Put some, I don't know, emotes in chat. You know what to do. Go have a good time. Go show some love. Bye bye.